Councillors, welcome to today's council meeting. I know we've had the council prayer this morning, but I'd like you to stand, please, for a moment's silence in acknowledgement of the passing of Corrib Mark Gray and his son Robert. Thank you. Please can you take your seats? Both of the Greys unfortunately passed away at the same time. I did attend their tangi at Ngāti Rangi's marae. Both have served this council and the Tai Happy Council well. In terms, for me personally, I asked Mark Gray to stand for council as the second time down the track. I've also appreciated his sage advice and just as a friend, so I could go and spend time on his back veranda at his farm. I know Councillor Gordon, you understand and know the family well. But it's just a chance for us to be able to reflect on passing of friends to this council and this community. Thank you very much for that. I have apologies from Councillor Ash, Councillor Hira. Any further apologies? Would somebody like to so move? Thank you, Councillor Carter, Councillor Gordon. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. We do have a public forum. And Bruce, I welcome you to. So Bruce Cameron is here to talk about the Potorino water supply, and he understands the rules around. Come up the front, yeah, Bruce. Or you can speak from there where there are vacant chairs.
Well, I'm going to say thank you for having me.
Yeah, maybe if you come up here, then you'll also have the joy of being on camera.
We'll start with Exhibit A. I can stand it up. So this is a piece of 101-year-old pipe. The Rune scheme was, that's why I bought this. I didn't want the so this is the state of the pipe. So that's why we have to replace it. Because that's what is currently blowing out all the time. So that's all right. It's all right. I'll
I mean, it's not take you 10 minutes.
No, that's okay. So I have, we also have an account for the 4 previous blowout repairs that's to go as well. I forgot to bring that before. Very briefly, the steam's 101 years old. It was to service 15 World War I rehab farms which were delivered to veterans when the water supply failed from all of the creeks and springs. And it was a separate quango until the Labor government reforms of the 1980s. And basically, I just keep an eye on it, and previous people have done that since the thing began. And we've done a little minor repairs here and there, but we're now at the stage where we need to do capital replacement as opposed to repairs and maintenance on a regular basis. It's all gravity fed, just using technology that the Romans or Babylonians all did in the past. So there are no pumps of any kind, and it's not potable, and it has never been potable, so it's not ever used for human consumption. It's just stock. So that's really the guts of it.
Hey, Bruce, are you happy if you take some questions?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Good to go.
So the first questions from me, and I have had the pleasure of having had a tour with you around the scheme.
I'm not planning on running event tours around it in the future.
But my understanding from that one, and because I've got to ask questions like any councillor, so do I understand correctly that it is a rated scheme?
Yes, correct.
And attracts revenue to this council about 6 or 7k a year or something of that magnitude.
Correct, yes. And has done for the last 30 plus years.
Yeah. So in theory, there's money that has come to council, and you've continued to do the work yourselves up until this stage.
Absolutely. What just ordinary day-to-day maintenance we do. Yeah, absolutely, and we don't. What needs to be done gets done.
Okay, thank you. I'll take questions from the floor. Councillor Belsham first.
Thank you, Bruce, for bringing that along and letting us have a look at the state of the infrastructure that's there. My question is, what sort of cost are we looking at, or are you looking at to actually get that?
Absolutely. So I have one quote so far for 27,000 plus GST to replace 700 or 800 metres of pipe. I have approached the second quote in town for us as I'm reading the second quote. I've been told that they are so snowed under with COVID that they're not doing any quoting work right at the moment. So I'll get in contact with them in a week's time. They said they can't do anything. So that's a process, but I'll get a second quote and then we'll take it from.
So currently you're at 27,000. That's the quote you've had, 27,000.
Question, Chair of Assets first. Councillor Wilson, followed by Councillor Gordon. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Worship. You just mentioned 700 or 800 metres of pipe. I think, is that the total length of the scheme?
No. So absolutely not. So the scheme is approximately 2.5 kilometres of large pipe, and then it branches into a much smaller outfit pipe, and then there's on different titles, obviously, pipe which farmers pay for and upkeep themselves. So it's definitely not the whole scheme, no.
Okay, so subsequent to that, if I may, so the pipe that is at risk at the moment is this, what you've brought to us is the 600 to 700 metres with the quote that you've received.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Unfortunately, on a 100-year-old plus scheme, I can't tell you what that remaining 2 odd kilometres is like. It's just, that's how it is. But we've identified the areas where we're having significant problems, and past the point where this ends is then all alkathene and has been replaced in much more modern times.
Right.
Okay?
Okay, good, thank you.
Councillor Gordon, please.
Yeah, Bruce, this is a 100-year-old scheme, and I'd imagine that the farming is a lot more intensive than it was back then. So my question is the scheme right-sized for what you want to do with it now? Or if you were going to upgrade your pipe, should you actually be looking at a change in scale as well in terms of volume?
No, well, we can't. Well, we have a dam, so we can't easily make that bigger. It is, in my best guess, approximately a capacity of about 3.5 million litres, and it comes from a weir, which is in a little stream which isn't actually equivalent. The old map I've seen, it's called the NGAI stream, but on modern maps it's just got tributary of the Rangiku River, which flows continuously. And so it's just a weir puts the water into the dam, and then it just reticulates down through one main pipe from there.
Thank you.
Question from me, the 27k, does that include the pipe?
Yes.
And
But also, yes.
a question from me to the Chief Executive, presumably the short question is, have we got a process where we could approve this expenditure today? Could you advise us on the correct process from here for us to approve this?
So myself and the CFO and my head of assets have been trying to meet with Bruce to get an understanding of the scheme and how we can support the repair, and how we can make sure that our finances are appropriate. So I see that simply as an ongoing operational issue. It's lovely to meet Bruce, but this is the first time we've managed to meet with him.
But would it be fair to say that, bearing on the CFO's here, that we've, into our account, consolidated account, we've had rates of 6 or 7k for the last 30 odd years?
About 30 odd years, but certainly the last 5 or 6, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Honestly, I can't tell you what that is. I know it has been rated from day one.
Day one.
Yeah, but it could have been 5,000, 4,000,
just
30 years ago.
Just interested to make sure that we have more than 27k's with your money sitting in our accounts.
If I may. So there's what we rate, but from the financial report that Bruce sent me from 5 or 6 years ago, they had a working capital balance that we're still working through.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from councillors? Well, thank you.
I'm happy to take the spat with me.
You leave that there, Bruce.
Yeah, no, it's a reminder.
It's probably better than some of our pipes.
Oh, honestly, it's just how it is. But, I mean, just the final question thing is that these are working life is usually 50 years for galvanised pipe of this size. So to get 100 years out of it, that's no reason as well.
Is it?
So this was, we've had 4 blowouts, and part of the problem becomes that this stuff is actually hard to get patches for.
Yeah.
They're not making them anymore. So we've reached that Band-Aid stages, we're past the Band-Aid stage. And so these were 4 blowouts we had in basically 2 weeks. And to keep the scheme going at the moment, I've got a tap, a 40mm tap open to keep the pressure off so that when the water's not blowing, it's not back pressuring and blowing. Because parts, well, this was a piece that was taken off to put some PVC in, but and it was so thin you could break it with your fingers.
If you don't mind, your worship, I'll just ask a question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so this is an invoice that requires payment?
Yes, correct.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for bringing it to our attention.
Brilliant.
Thank you, and
Is there a
thank you Bruce, for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, please. In terms of just reminding councillors conflicts of any conflicts? Yes.
I have a conflict of interest around the Erewhon water scheme when we come to it around page 100, so I'll raise it again then.
Okay, thank you. Any further conflicts of interest? No, we'll move on. The confirmation of the order of business, it is, as I understand it, to be as with the addition of one late item, and that's surrounding the need or decision-making process around a remit that has been proposed by Gisborne Council. The confirmation of minutes, and looking for a confirmation of minutes, starting through on pages 7, 5, 6 and 7, looking for alterations, corrections, 8 and 9, 10 and 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Somebody like to so move? Thank you, Councillor Belsham moving without amendment. Councillor Carter seconding. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. The follow-up actions from Council's previous meetings, starting through page 22, passing to whom? Ms. Gordon?
Yes, and as normal, most staff who have actions are in the room. If there's any questions, we're happy to provide any further explanation.
So any questions around page 23? Questions around page 24? I have a couple that, in progress item 9, the Mayor's holding public meetings, Martin Taiapi, etc. I'll talk about that as part of my mayoral report further. And also further down, number 12, the resolution, the Mayor and Deputy Mayor will present the Rangitikei District Council's position at the next available Horizons Regional Public Forum. This is around the Putarino scheme. I also submitted on Koitiata. So I'll talk about that later as well, and I acknowledge that Arno accompanied me. Thank you for that, Arno. Any further on pages 24 or 25? Councillor
23, the first one regarding the scooter installation.
Yes.
Is there any requirement or specifications as to where they can and can't mount it?
I believe that was instruction back for council to do something. Mr. Bennett.
It's mentioned 3 or 4 times in this article.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, at the last meeting, there's a resolution that determines the position, where it will go. and the cost. So that's all going, that's all running.
So the committee aren't, the Bulls Community Committee aren't organising the mounting?
Yes, they are.
They are?
Yeah.
Okay. So they have approval to drill into wherever?
Yes. Not the building, it's on the footpath. So I have spoken
Thank you,
to,
Mr. Biggs.
I have spoken to the committee, and they are quite clear what they can and cannot do.
Thank you.
Councillor Dalbetti?
Item number 23 on page 25.
Yep.
I'm just looking at the date, 28th of October 21, and just wondering if there's been any progress on some of these things. We're getting, up to 6 months old, for them to be just sitting there in progress. I was wondering what's holding some of them up.
Good question.
I'll take that one. You're right, and it falls short of my expectation as well. As part of the annual plan, I've identified with my exec team the gaps where we have resources that we require to achieve some of these things. I think our reporting could improve in terms of how long it would take us to get to these points, and I would like us to be in a position where there are undertakings made that we give feedback as to how long it would normally take for us to get to those. As part of the annual plan, we have built in some additional resources, and one of the functions of those resources would be to ensure that these kind of requests from you are dealt with in an appropriate timescale. But I do accept that the length of time on some of these is inappropriate.
Thank you.
Following page, starting Councillor Gordon.
Following page, Your Worship, page 26. Item number 25, it says in progress. Could anyone brief as to what contact has been had with Ngāti Paki and Ngāti Hinimani regarding the Taihape wastewater treatment plant process?
Sorry, is that 25?
Yes, item number 25.
Yeah, Your Worship, I can comment on that. Jess made contact with all of them and had communications with all iwi there, including the ones that you've identified to us. It is ongoing, so it remains in progress, but we have communications with all iwi.
Thank you.
Councillor Duncan, similar
Just
question.
on page 25, if I may. Number 18, staff have met with Taihape Heritage Group representatives, organising for staff to attend the next committee meeting in Taihape. I believe that's the AGM on Sunday. Just wondered how we're getting on with that. And there is another meeting tomorrow, so.
I think that the AGM is in my diary, but can somebody please check?
Is your question?
I'm just wondering if staff are actually meeting with them. My understanding is.
So New Zealand Heritage will be on site in Taihape tomorrow, and Taihape Heritage representatives will be present.
Great. With staff. Yeah, thank you.
And then they'll go to Mangaweka Bridge,
Yes.
which is similarly placed. Right. Under Heritage New Zealand assessment.
Yes, okay, great.
Back to page 26. Any further on that there? Page 27, items 29 through to 33. Councillor.
Just regarding the Hannibal wheelchair access, I attended the Anzac Day Parade at Owenite, and there was a woman there with a child in a wheelchair, and she could not gain access to the Owenite Hall. And obviously there's no ramp, so it could be considered an ongoing issue going forward with a lot of these halls, wheelchair access.
Thank you. No.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, just a comment on that. We are going to initiate a wider program for all properties owned by council. Do you have a view on the state that they're in, the use that they get, any kind of risk that we carry? So is there asbestos, accessibility issues, earthquake strengthening, all of those kind of items? And what I'm hoping is to get that work done before the next LTP, so we can strategize what we do with our property portfolio going forward.
Just number 29, just looking at the one in progress about the Rapna toilet block, I think there's keys available at both shops, so there's no point in having this in this list of things in progress.
What number is it?
29. Page 27.
Right, nothing further, councillors? Moving on to item 8, the mayoral report. Yes, sorry. Would somebody like to move the reception? Councillor Wilson, Councillor Gordon, those in favour?
Aye.
Those against, carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 8, thank you. Gordon, Mayor's report. I'll move that it be received. Looking for a seconder to it. Councillor Carter, those in favour?
Aye.
Those against, carried. I'm certainly going to take it as read, but there are a couple of other things I want to bring to your attention. On your tables, first of all, there's a table document about the process of going to Horizons. So I went to Horizons not only about questioning the Putarino rubbish dump costings and their consent process, but also elected to take to them our concerns formally around Koitiata and the ongoing lagoon issues. Well received by Horizons. They have committed to putting a formal report paper together. So Michael will be, I'm sure, in touch with you, Peter, around that process. So at least we've now got a formal placeholder in a system where they have to make a formal decision as to whether they support our argument and are prepared to meet with us, talk with us and fund. We'll see where that goes. The next one, not included in this report in my mayor's comment, but I included in the Connect report a paragraph around saying that New Zealand has changed and the presence of social media and people questioning the rights of government, etc., as a new horizons. So we struck this head on at a Three Waters meeting the other night, where we had a group of people that looked to dominate the meeting of their particular perspective about governmental rights. They were intimidating in nature. I could have handled it probably a little bit better than I did, I think, but it went okay-ish. But it's not a pleasant scenario that we're now in. And that, I think, will be the way that most public meetings will occur from here on in. And they will run through that process, through to election processes and so on. It's just where we are. But I think the number of councillors with the Peter, Anna, with the there's nothing really that can be done. But I will, with the next Bulls meeting, I will have a talk to the local police just to make sure that we do have a police officer that will be floating around Bulls at that time if we need assistance. But we have the right, and I'll stress this, I believe we have the right, it is our meeting, we can shut that meeting down if we so desire. That's unfortunate. You know, we should not be intimidated by a minority group within New Zealand. And if we do have to shut a meeting down, then it'll be fully on the understanding that we go back personally to those people that did bother to attend to find out what Three Waters are about. I have asked that also the effective run sheet and comments for that meeting will go on our website, where we've tried to portray what the real situation is around Three Waters, that it is a government action, that is a legislated or mandated change, and all sorts of different groups are trying to seek changes to that position, including councils for local democracy, etc. I'll take any questions on that part of my report. Councillor Dalgety.
I'm just wondering, would there be any benefit in people signing in effectively when they came in the door?
There isn't. I have considered that.
Right.
The concern that I would have if people sign in, especially if they give their contact details, then that can be photographed so easily now, and you could be exposing people to risk.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the downside of that sort of process. For instance, if a councillor decided to sign in and give their phone numbers, or that's on the website, but gave their addresses, or they could potentially get visited. No, that's just the nature of the game. Also in my report, we need to recommend a councillor or the mayor to be appointed as a trustee to the Impact Collective Governance Group Charitable Trust. And Peter, just while I get a cold water, would you mind explaining for a second this, or do you want me to? Right, thank you. Okay, so this is set up from the Wanganui DHB. Russell Simpson, the chief executive of the Wanganui DHB, has expressed concern over the need for a social governance group that will be in place and perform all sorts of social type functions in the future. So it's wider than just a medical platform or portfolio. So there's been a number of meetings around that, and they're looking to set up this trust. They are needing a representative from us as a member. Do you want to add to it?
If I may, Your Worship, this was a consideration in the long-term plan, and you resolved to provide a small amount of funding to the initiative. I can't remember how much it was, but so this is a continuation of that. There's considerable funding that's been given to the initiative from Wanganui DHB and the Ministry of Social Development into the tens, if not hundreds of thousands. And they have done some work and engagement in the Mangaweka district.
If nobody wants to do it, I will certainly do it, because I think somebody needs to be there.
I have a question.
Certainly. I'll try and answer it.
What does this entail?
In terms of meetings and
Yes.
time, I'm not sure. So my best guess would be perhaps a monthly meeting.
In Wanganui.
Yeah.
That would be, Your Worship, I would suggest somewhere between once a quarter and once a month in that category.
Richard, may I ask a quick question with regards to this? So this group is actively engaged now, isn't it?
Yes, there's been a series of meetings. They've tended to be at mayoral, chief executive level, includes right through to Ruapehu, etc. Councils, South Taranaki. There's been. Yeah.
So we had a presentation here to council with regard to, so it isn't very much in the implement stage, or it has been now implemented, as in the structure, but
in the implementing stage, really.
Implementing stage. So the structure itself is not in place as yet. Okay.
Councillor Duncan.
I will put my hand up.
Certainly. So you're happy to do it. Would somebody like to then move recommendation 2 that councillor recommends that Councillor Duncan be appointed? Have you moved to Dalgety? Sorry. I'll take you as the seconder. Councillor Lambert, those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? carried. Thank you very much for that. It's important that we involve councillors where we can spread this load, and that's the stage that they're moving into. Anything further on the Mayor's report or meetings? Councillor Belsham.
Yeah, just a question around the recognition of PowerCo and the power demands on our district, especially the lower part of the district. Is the spatial planning exercise that we're going through, is there some involvement between the two parties there? Because that's actually about identifying future growth areas, and I'm sure PowerCo will be looking from a strategic point of view as to where our vision is. So is there interaction going on between PowerCo and our lead of the spatial plan?
At a very high level, yes, they're wanting to come here because, first of all, they are recognising the growth that is currently happening. I have given them a printout map of the likely growth areas identified within the spatial plan, or as such at the moment, obviously to be adopted and so on later, but on the basis of the knowledge of land that we know has been purchased for housing, etc. They are fascinated about the potential for industry to be in our space, because that will be potentially one of the big consumers. To get the Chief Executive of PowerCo here with his team is a massive step forward. I've also signalled at that meeting that we should be at least paying some discussion to the rural sector. So, for instance, there are a number of irrigators that are powered by generators because just isn't capacity within their sections of the grid to power these. So it will be far-ranging. I have asked for expertise from the Downs Electrical Group to be at this meeting, which PowerCo welcome. Good question. Councillor Jalgiri?
I just wanted to comment that there are a number of irrigators right on the fringe of town operating, certainly on the fringe of Bulls, that will be on the powered source, not by generators, but you know, we would need to be able to protect that, I guess. And then just my experience is PowerCo have chosen in the hills up the top of Watershed Road to put in a generator and solar scheme rather than continue power source up to there. Incredibly, I imagine incredibly expensive to put in, but it's working really well.
Yeah, I mean, a number of stations and so on all over the country are finding those sorts of solutions in negotiation with power companies now. For those of you that sat in on the zone meeting and we went around the districts, there was talk from the South Taranaki of a massive offshore wind generation that's being proposed in conjunction with I think Swedish or Danish group and the New Zealand Super Fund, but looking to power a very significant portion of New Zealand's power out of the South Taranaki. So, yeah, we're in a moving field. Thank you, Councillor Duncan.
I just would like to take the opportunity to congratulate Lisa Kruiwagen for her election onto the Youth Council. And I believe she's a daughter of one of our staffers, so that's fantastic. And I've met the girl and she's lovely. So, yeah, I think that's wonderful.
Thank you, and I suspect her mum might be online listening, so I'm sure that she will pass your comments on. A couple of corrections from my Mayor's engagement. First of all, the 25th attended Anzac Day Dawn Parade at Martin, also attended the ceremony for Bess at Bulls and at Martin's Cenotaph. Thanks staff for organising the flowers for all of the areas. Thank you, Councillor, for getting them delivered around the tracks. Oh, that's right. I was thinking it was you, sorry. My apologies, Councillor Carter. The Martin, 26th, the Martin Rail Hub Board meeting was postponed. And other than that, I think it's taken as read. Any further? Otherwise, we'll move on. Thank you very much. Move to the Chief Executive's report. Would somebody like to move the receipt of it first, so don't forget later. Councillor Carter, Councillor Duncan. Thank you. I'll get you next time, Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will mostly take it as read, but we'll pause on a couple of points as we go through and certainly invite any questions as I go through. The first one I want to pause on is the health, safety and wellbeing update. I normally skim over this a little and presume you've read the dashboard, but I wanted to pause and ask, have you any questions or comments or queries or anything, and I'm quite happy if you want us to go through it, because it's really important for me and to my team that our governors are engaged in this. So, if I may, Your Worship, I open.
Certainly.
Yeah, thank you for the report, Peter, Mr. Beggs. Question around the events, near misses, hazards for March 22, and it's very low, which can be seen as a good thing, but can also be seen as non-reporting. So could you give us some perhaps feedback around that?
Sure. I'm going to ask Sharon to answer that for me, please.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Peter. And yes, I agree with you. Obviously, it's on one hand pleasing to see that we've only had one near miss, but it does beg the question in terms of whether, in fact, all our events have been recorded. We do have ongoing communication with our leadership team and staff to remind them of the importance of reporting even the smallest near miss. And we're also taking steps to make that reporting process a lot easier. I would hope that all the reporting has been done, and what I might suggest is that during that month a number of our facilities were closed where we have been seeing higher levels of reporting, and also there are a number of staff working remotely, which could explain why we have had reduced reporting.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Dalgety, followed by Councillor Lambert.
I just, so we have had it, I'm just querying the, my interpretation. We've had the near miss, one near miss, but I still find it difficult to know where it was in the pie graph. Is that correct? So I know there's an near miss, but I don't know which category it was in.
Yeah, if I can respond to that, that is correct. It's not immediately clear from the information on this dashboard. This is a summary dashboard, and the category about the month is the monthly information. The pie graph is the year-to-date information. That information would usually be presented in the more detailed report that goes to audit and risk. If there's a desire to have that information reported at this meeting, we could look at ways to increase that reporting.
I think with the numbers involved, I'm happy with it just to stay with audit and risk at this stage. Yeah, but thank you for the explanation.
Councillor Lambert.
Yeah, just driver ratings. Can you walk me through this?
Sure. There's a couple of things I'll say about this part of the dashboard. Firstly, as it is at the moment, the driver star ratings is a measure of the data that we're getting through our e-road system, which monitors two aspects of driver behaviour, which is speeding and braking. I accept that there's certainly not the only measure of driver safety. Backing the dashboard, we have a transformational framework for health and safety, and part of that framework is having measures in place that ensure people can be safer and healthier at work and outside of work, and driver safety is a key focus area in that area. So what I want to reshape that bit too really soon is the number of drivers that have completed that program, the reduction in near-miss incidents as a result of that program, as well as leaving the star rating in there. So as you see it, it's simply a measure of harsh braking and overspeeds.
Okay, that's good.
It's certainly a real area of improvement for us, as Sharon has outlined. We did have some COVID has curtailed some of the training that we had intended to run, but I do want us to look at driver fatigue, that kind of thing as well, driver distraction, which aren't measured in E-roads, but are causes of driver danger, effectively. What's pleasing is when I go around and when my exec team go around and attend some of the site meetings, they have the issue of fatigue and people putting their hand up for whatever reason, be it a lack of sleep or some other reason for a driver being fatigued. That it's quite a mature conversation that I'm hearing around their unwillingness to take on a task if they're fatigued. That's early, but it shows a good direction for me that people are comfortable to discuss these things and say, hey, look, I'm not good to drive. Can you drive for today, please? Now, as I say, that's more a qualitative measure. It's a very difficult one to quantify in a star rating, for example. But that's certainly an area of activity that we wish to progress further.
I know that's so helpful on so many levels.
Yes.
It's great.
And Sharon's notion that she's brought to this, which is that our people will be safer as a result of being employees.
Exactly.
And that's part of our wellness program, our driving, etc., etc. So this is something that they can take home, skills they take home with them as well as at work.
Thank you. We'll move on.
Yep.
Carry on, please.
So no other questions, Your Worship, on the health and safety aspect. Point 5 is the loan request. I'm just checking with Dave. Did I or you send out the email with the?
No, so we've sent off the society have confirmed they're happy with the terms. Myself and Peter have signed it off and sent back to them to sign. We're just waiting for them to sign and return it.
And then we'll send it to you for your advice as per the request. Yes, that's April, March. And acknowledgement of point 6 that we do owe some analysis coming from the last council meeting on those issues that they've not been ready for this meeting. I'm sorry. Nothing else, Your Worship.
Anything further? All right, we'll move on to item 10, reports for decision. The first one is 10.1. This is the remuneration one for Turupiai Car. Would somebody like to move the receipt of that? Thank you, Councillor Belch and Councillor Wilson. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Does somebody want to take us through this, or it's all in the report? There's not a staff member that's going to take us through this.
Yes, we can do that. Ash has put this together with my oversight, and it's really at a request from Turupiai Car members that we give them clarity about what can and can't be claimed for. So Ash did quite a bit of detailed look at what we have in place and then where the gaps are, so he can answer any further questions about this one.
Right, so recommendation 2 is purely and simply should they be paid for attending, and they do get a mileage. Would somebody like to move either recommendation 2?
So this isn't that
they agree or
sorry, I was just going to say it's not that they don't get a meeting allowance for attending their own meetings. This is other meetings.
Yeah. So if there is a workshop or something of that nature, and we're asking a representative of Turupiai Car to attend, should they be paid? And if they are going to be paid at a rate of $150 per attendance, or do we ignore it? Do you want them to be paid or not? Councillor Wilson.
Just seeking a little bit of clarification. I read this with some interest, and when I first read it, it appeared to me that representatives of Te Rupi Heika hadn't been paid in the past. So what you're telling them, that they have been paid?
That they're paid for attending track meetings.
Track meetings only. So this is over and above that
Correct.
for additional meetings that would be called by council?
Correct.
So only and simply for a council meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'd be comfortable to move that motion then, with that
Just
clarification.
need a clarification, am I correct?
So we just want that limited to council organised.
Council organised meetings, yes.
Oh, you've got that in there.
At the request of council is in there, so.
Council staff.
So you're happy to move?
I'm happy to move that then, yeah.
Councillor Panapa, will you?
Just a couple of questions.
Yeah, sure.
So the first is this a request from track to?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and second is, do we have any data in terms of how often members of track attend other council meetings?
It's reasonably significant. So when we go into annual plan, long-term plan, and major workshops, more and more, we're asking for their attendance. So it is reasonably frequent.
I'm happy to second that.
So we have a move and a second. You wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, just quickly, I think this is the right thing to do, and I think you've just hit the nail on the head, Your Worship, when you said we're requesting the attendance at significant engagement levels throughout council, i.e. our long-term plan, and I think that's important. And I think we want that level of engagement, and we seek some guidance on many occasions with regards to some of those discussions that we have from our partners in Te Rupi Heika. So I think it is appropriate that a level of remuneration for their time given is appropriate. So that's why I'm happy to move this motion.
Look, is there anybody wanting to speak against this? Look, on that basis, if you're happy, councillors, I'll put it straight to a vote. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Recommendation 3. This is again where you have track representatives appointed to our standing committees. So assets, finance, policy and planning. And should they be funded as well? So we have literally a gap has been identified in our process. Councillor.
Well, we've moved recommendation 2, so I think it would be wrong not to move recommendation 3. So I'm happy to move recommendation 3 that the council agrees to remunerate the appointed track representative on each of the below committees at the same rate, obviously.
Looking for a seconder to that. Councillor Gordon seconding. Councillor, you happy if I put this straight to a vote? Councillor Carter, question.
For those particular committees, we have council members who are on track. Do they double dip?
No, they don't.
It's just a question, thank you.
No. Sorry, you're quite correct to raise it, but no, they don't. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. A recommendation 4 that any extra costings to council are submitted to the annual plan via an internal submission. Internal submission, we asked for submissions on our annual plan. There's nothing to stop council submitting to its own internal plan. That's what that is.
Yeah. I'm happy to move that.
Moving. We're looking for a seconder. Thank you. Councillor Lambert will take the seconder. Put it to the vote. Those in favour? Just those against?
Sorry, Your Worship, I just had a question on that one. Is that recommendation actually required, or is it already covered in by the Remuneration Authority? It's required as an action?
I think it's really checking. Yeah.
Okay. Would that be something that would need to be done on an annual basis, or would that become a policy decision?
It could become a policy decision, I'm sure, because it would drop into our annual plan funding.
Okay, thank you.
So this is outside of that, so we've got to submit to it.
Certainly supporting, just wanted some clarification on.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Given that there are now members formally from Te Raukahi Ka on the standing committees, can there be, or is there a valid possibility to reframe the name of the relationship as from Te Raukahi Ka being an advisory body to being part of governance, to being or part of the decision-making processes of this council?
You may well run into legal problems around that. Interesting question to be raised.
Can I make a suggestion? We will be bringing you a review of the current committee structure in terms of a workshop, and then it goes as a report from council to the incoming council. So I would suggest that as part of that workshop, maybe that your exact point is raised, and if terms of reference need to be changed, then it's done for the next triennial. Councillor Rafael's here.
Councillor Rakawa online.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. So the councillors that are part of Ahika that have been put up to, or the ones that are on Ahika that have been put up to the assets or the policy or finance committee, if they're councillors, should they then step aside as a track member rep and get the new track, well, get another track member to come on board? Should that be addressed at a track meeting?
If they wanted to, if they're a councillor and wanted to step aside, that somebody else took that role, that's up to Te Raukahi Ka and each individual iwi in terms of the nomination process.
Okay then. Kia ora.
Speak to that as well. In relation to the member that is appointed to the committee, it's the best person for the job, irrespective of whether they're a councillor or not. The issue here is that you have the option of remuneration as a councillor for attending a council meeting. So you don't need to double dip, or so as a councillor you have. But the main thing is the best person for the job, whether you're a councillor or not.
But that's not at the point I'm making, is that's not our decision. It's an external decision.
Yep.
Anything further? Right, I think we can move on now. Did we carry that? No, we didn't. Councillor Belsham, Councillor Lambert's motion, I'll put to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Moving to 10.2, the remuneration Creative New Zealand. Moving the receipt of the report. Thank you, Councillor Lambert. You're looking at me first. Councillor Gordon seconded. Those in favour? Those against? Now, this is where the council agrees to remunerate the Creative New Zealand committee members and track reps for attendance at committee meetings at a rate of cost of attendance. Does anybody have a view here?
I would suggest, Your Worship, if I may, that the similar reasonings that we've heard from the previous discussion are largely valid here, I believe.
Are you wanting to move that?
I'll move that it be received.
You've already moved that it be received. I'm not so sure about this one, to be honest, councillors.
Can we just make a point on this? I probably would like Ash to maybe explain this one a bit more. I think it's because he's been doing a bit of research about committees and the remuneration for the track item, and came across a resolution that hasn't been enacted or never came to council. When it had come from the committee, it hasn't been put in front of council. So this is a couple of years ago. So you're trying to tidy this up.
Yeah, that's correct. They put a resolution through that got missed, I assume, at the time, and they haven't brought it up since then, there are 2 meetings, but yeah, it still hasn't been addressed. So there's 2 questions, it's mileage and attendance.
I'd rather we're speaking to a motion here, councillors, so could somebody, you'll move which one, mate? That we agree to remunerate? Looking for a seconder to that? Councillor Wilson seconding, do you wish to speak to your motion?
It's, like I say, we've already had this discussion, and the degree to which council supports those who are willing to contribute to our community is important, and I think this is a valid request.
Any further speakers? Otherwise, councillor Belsham.
We need a rate of a meeting allowance put into that resolution, yes.
How much would you see as a meeting cost to attend a meeting? So we had somebody attend a meeting today, for example, at finance, which took around half an hour.
Plus the week before.
Plus the week before and plus travel. Mm. So there's a good couple of hours work in it.
I'll defer to the expertise of the Chair of Finance in terms of what a fair rate would be.
Well, I've got a question in regards with it, because this covers the Creative New Zealand Community Committee. It doesn't cover the funding groups that we administer over out of ratepayers' money. So to me, this is a chunk of money that is given to us by Creative New Zealand, and then it is up to us to have a group to administer it. So this is actually different to what I think we dealt with in the previous recommendations. And if it was me, I would, and we were looking to remunerate people, it would come from that fund. So, yeah, well, that's, it's a fund, it's a chunk of money being provided by the Creative New Zealand, and where to administer it. So, my personal view is that the funding should come out of that chunk of money.
Correct me if I'm wrong, staff, but I don't believe that we're allowed to charge an administrative cost.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct, and the paper does state that. So this is.
Coral, Councillor Rakawa.
Yes, so in regards to this item, if again, I guess like the last one, if you're the track member that's been put up and you're a councillor,
You wouldn't
does
be
it?
able,
You wouldn't, yeah.
No.
Yep, no, that's fine. That same again. Kia ora.
Very clear guidelines around this. So if we were going to charge, if we were going to pay an administrative cost here, it would have to come by motion out of council's funds, not Creative New Zealand's funds.
If we're speaking to the recommendation and we're looking for a number, I would suggest that it's $50 per meeting and the rate at the 79 cents per K.
So the mover and seconder both agree at that rate? Any further speakers to it? Councillor Dalgety.
I'm just concerned around the other committees that we've got around event sponsorship and community initiatives, that we do have outside people coming in. So it would seem fair to me, if we're doing this here, we need to support them as well.
Can I speak to the councillor regarding that?
Yeah.
I think the important thing is here is Ash identified that there was an action that's been missed previously. So this is tidying up an action. What you're referring to is something that may come to us in the future. And if it does, we should be dealing with it then. This is trying to deal with something that has been missed, that has been picked up, that has been an error on behalf of this council. It's something that hasn't been actioned. And I think what we're doing is tidying up that error.
Thank you.
Good answer. We'll go back to a right reply and ask the further speaker. Right.
As was being said, I'll be voting against this. because it's, as Councillor Giddy is opening up a can of worms for other areas that are being missed out. So if it should in the future be looked at, it should cover the whole lot, not just one group.
I'll go back to you again, Councillor Panapa. There's been a speaker against. Do you wish to speak again? Right, I'll put it to vote. Those in favour of the motion as it stands? Those against? Right, we'll start formally, kind of a show of hands. Those in favour? 1, 2, 3. But you're not allowed to vote.
No, I was saying,
Maybe there's a point.
Yes.
She's a proxy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are 6. The motion. Those against? 1, 2, 3. Motion is carried. Thank you. The recommendation for that any costings was submitted by the same deal here. I'll move. Seconded by Councillor Lambert. I can put this straight to a vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Destination Rangatike. Draft Destination Management Plan Recommendation 1 that the report be received. Thank you. And are we welcoming Jess to the table here? Sorry, Jen, right?
Don't necessarily have to unless there's specifics.
Sorry?
You don't necessarily have to unless there are some specific questions.
Right, we'll see where the questions go, but you're welcome to join us at the table if you wish. So the reception of the report. It's good practice to be out there.
Yeah.
Councillor
I'll
Welsh
move the
moving.
reception. Yeah.
Councillor Gordon seconding. Those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Those against? Carried. Are there any questions of the report for Jen? Councillor Wilson.
One for me, Jen, look, I think the document's great. It's fairly concise, it's easy and it's simple to read. What is your next stage plan with socialising this document and getting it out and about? Is there a second stage to this that we should talk about?
So very selfishly, I've got a week off and then I will get this out into the public domain via all our media channels, so website, social media. For the next 2 months, the biggest and the main priority is building the implementation plan with the advisory group, which will set out what we're doing, when we're doing it, and where it will fall, and over what time period.
Subsequent to that, which may come out of the advisory groups, but how do you get it wider field? How do you get it further out than a localised document that we can? Does this sit on the departure lounge at Auckland Airport somewhere, or the incoming lounge? And how do we get this document out into a broader circulation field, which to me has some very good information about our district?
So I've been pushing it through any government agencies that I either have a relationship with or am starting to build one with. I'll leverage some powers around the table. Then as far as sort of outside of that, it's word of mouth and everyone talking and pushing it. There is plans with the marketing strategy to launch this in a good news story as far and as wide as we possibly can.
Thank you. Any further questions? Jen, have we got any feeling around, the committee as to, how many people are likely to be on that, other than council staff?
I currently have 7, which is a mixture of tourism-based businesses, community members, and a couple of just everyday business owners.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any further questions, councillors? Councillor Kurakawa, question?
Yeah, just looking on page 2 of the book, down in the areas where is it able to be looked over by Laquan maybe, or Te Raupu Ahika, because some of those names not quite right for Ngā Ariki, and some of the placements of where they are, it looks like you're going right from Turakina to Kawangaroa, they look like they're in the same place, but they're absolutely two different hapu. 10. Just if someone can have a look over that, would be great.
I will get Laquan to double check that before we finalise the document itself that goes into the public.
Ka pai. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gordon?
Yeah, one question from me. Jen, to make this a living document, how often do we need to update? Because I'm sure that there will be new things hitting the ground running in the future. So how do we keep this alive?
So I have scheduled, so by next 12-month period, this will have we'll take another real good look at this to make sure that we're still on the right path. By then, awareness of a destination management approach will be widely known, so engagement and feedback that we get will then become more aligned with what the work is. Some of the work is already underway, having been able to preconceive that, but also a lot of that's going to be done within the next 12 months. So that's just,
So that's
12 months'
the
time.
the engine, the machine. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Nothing further? Okay, we'll move. This is about the adoption. Looking for somebody to so move. Councillor Gordon moving. Councillor Duncan seconding. Do you wish to speak to it?
No, I think it's a great document, and there's a lot of hard work gone into this, Your Worship. More than happy to move.
Any speakers to it? Otherwise, I'll put it straight to a vote. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Jen. We recognise the amount of work that you have put into this.
Well done.
We know at times that it has been difficult. So we acknowledge the persistence in a time of COVID. It hasn't been easy to engage with tourism organisations that have been under considerable stress during this period. So thank you. We certainly appreciate the work done.
Happy holiday. Yes.
10.4, this is the late item, Local Government New Zealand LGNZ remit. The recommendation is, first of all, from me, that the late item of Local Government New Zealand be dealt with as part of the agenda for this meeting because of the a timing issue as described in the motions. We've only just received advice around this. We could defer and we could say we don't want to deal with this and leave it for that council to get the 5 votes that they would need to progress this from other organisations. But I'm moving recommendation 1 that we give ourselves the opportunity on that basis. Looking for a second to do that.
What point are we on?
So it's up in the board,
Is this whether we just, sorry,
this is the late item.
yeah, so whether we decide to accept it to discuss?
This is just whether we decide to accept it as a late item. So you're seconding, Councillor Belsham seconding. Anybody with an opposition view? I'll put it to vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. So up for discussion. The recommendation 2 will be that council supports or does not support the remit proposed by Gisborne District Council relating to harm caused by gambling. Take questions around the remit. Thank you.
Good question.
So the remit that LGNZ works with central government to amend the Gambling Act 2003 and Racing Industry Act 2020 to give councils a broader scope for their policies under these acts, including the ability to apply controls and restrictions on existing venues and develop additional gambling harm reduction measures and strategies for provincial parts of New Zealand where the effects of problem gambling continue to disproportionately affect those of low socio. Now, councillors, this has routinely come to councils And there's contrary arguments here, and one of them is a funding argument, for example, where gambling allows access to funds that are contestable, that you can apply for the sports clubs, etc. Another contrary view around gambling is often around how do you restrict this when you can just go online now, totally unregulated, etc. All sorts of arguments around this. So it's probably easier if somebody takes a stab and puts up a stance to be either passed. You're prepared to move?
Happy to move that we support and speak to it. If I get a second.
I'll second.
Right, you're moving, you get first crack at it. Tactics, Councillor.
Well, it's yeah, thank you. Look, it's all in the wording, and if you read it, it's that LGNZ works for central government to give councils broader scope in their policies, and it's giving councils control for their individual areas. So it's giving them the tools that they need to work with their own individual circumstances. It's not a blunt hammered approach here. So it's giving councils the individual control to work with their own circumstances within their own areas. I take on board the your worship's buddy comments there with regards to we can do it online, but it clearly states within existing venues. So I think it's all in the wording of the remit here, and I don't see that there is any risks or any issues to council here to support this and to give individual councils those border controls to work within their own scope and own space.
Further speakers to this? I think for me, it's also in the words that it gives you scope to make a decision. It doesn't say what your decision has to be, but it gives you scope. So I'm prepared to support it, speak in support. Any further speakers? Councillor Parker.
Any initiative that highlights the addictive nature of certain things that afflict our society is good. So to give councils that ability to deal with something that sometimes gets swept under the carpet, all power to councils.
Got 3 speakers in favour. Anybody wanting to speak against? Right. And do you need a right to reply having everybody speaking for support?
Well, unless anybody's speaking against, no.
Correct. Put it to the vote. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you. And we record that. Would staff be able to advise Gisborne that we have supported their remit?
LGNZ or to Gisborne?
Goes to Gisborne first. They need 5 councils in support. The process would be then that they go to LGNZ and lodge the remit and say these are the councils that are supporting it. Right, thank you very much. Moves us to item 11, the reports for information.
Worship will be led by Arno, but with Adina support.
Yeah. Thank you. Welcome to the table.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Page 76 and on. Thank you.
Just on the topic, you might be aware, or you may not be aware, that unfortunately for us, it was Jess's last day yesterday. And she's moving on to bigger and brighter things. And we will still have a lot of contact with her on a lot of these topics. But from this point onwards, she will be acting as a private entity rather than an employee. So unfortunately, today I will take you through this with Adina's help around some of the details around some of these projects. And as we go forwards, obviously there will be some changes to fill the gaps as we move along. So for today, we'll start with the Mangaweka Bridge. And I think we'll just do like we normally do and ask if there are any questions on the Mangaweka Bridge project.
So, so we are now teed up for a 20th of May opening, which means that access will be granted to heavy transport, etc., to use the new bridge. and we'll have subsequently a post-ceremony at a later date if needed.
That's all on the 20th of May.
So it's all,
But I do need to make the point, we got confirmation from John Jones, the roading manager at MDC that's managing the project for us. This is really important that we have a clear view of what will be completed and what will not be completed by the 20th of May, because what we don't want is a situation where people think everything is done and the bridge is completely open for use by the 20th of May, which is not going to be the case. So what I have received from John is that the approach on the Arveston side of the bridge is going to take a little bit longer. That's the approach that's more challenging and a bit higher. It will be completed by the day of the opening, but it will not be sealed. It will still be unsealed. The sealing of that piece is scheduled for the 26th of May, so a little bit later. He also noted that the planting, the guardrails, and other smaller works will be completed by the 8th of July. So it'll be safe for use, and it will be in use, but all those items are still unfinished.
a further question from me, because some of the comms hasn't been poor, and I know that the Mayor and Chief Executive may be away on the 20th, who is responsible for the opening ceremony, the organisation of it? Is it still sitting with Manawatu, or is it going to sit with us, being our iwi?
At the moment, the organisation of the opening ceremony, as far as I know, is with MDC, but I will follow up and confirm and be certain.
Extend an invitation for us to be part of it. That was going to be raised in the ELT tomorrow.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Any further questions around this item? Councillor Dalgety.
First of all, a concern around process. I believe at the last asset and infrastructure meeting, there were two letters from the public tabled, and I still haven't seen those, and I'm concerned about that. And I would like it addressed how if we're in a Zoom situation and something is tabled at the meeting, in my mind, why can't that be emailed out to the recipient at that time? But here we are, weeks later, and I still haven't seen it.
So the advice, I thank you for raising this, Councillor Dalgety. My advice has been that it was raised as an action to go out into the public arena because it wasn't at that meeting. It was then placed on the council websites, and that is current.
Yes, so it was, I've just put a bit of clarity around this. It was at the Assets and Infrastructure Committee meeting.
Yeah.
And at that time, only His Worship had received the emails, and we undertook to get those from His Worship and put them on the website, and they are there next to the Assets Infrastructure agenda. You'll see tabled emails, Mangaweka Bridge. So if you can go online now and have a look.
Thank you. Okay, so as a councillor, do I need to check that website prior to every meeting? How I do it is I just go off Ash's email. I don't go into that website.
If I can just further clarify, the emails were only raised at the meeting.
Mm.
So there wasn't, because they were only sent to the Mayor, the staff didn't have them anyway. So there wasn't an opportunity to get them to council, to the rest of the committee. And what was agreed then was they would be put on the website so that they would be available to public as well as yourselves.
So after a meeting where there's been something tabled, go back to the councillor only part?
No, it's on the public.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So they came into my email. I suggested to staff that they should be available to councillors, and I could have forwarded them on. There was a gap. Subsequent question.
Just around, is there a closing of the old bridge, and what happens around that, and is it immediately available for walkers and bikers, etc.?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I think the simple answer for that, it is all of that is excluded from this project, and I would imagine we would have to figure out what that need and then how we're going to achieve that. So this new project only focuses on the new bridge.
Can I just ask then if, as there has been issues around the new bridge, can we expedite that and do that as quickly to the community satisfaction as fast as we can?
Presumably, vehicles will not be able to enter the old bridge with the roadwork changes.
Thank you, Worship. I think that's a point we need to just clarify, and I will confirm via email. I'll just have to confirm with John that the sealing of that new part will not at some point redirect the traffic back to the old bridge. We need to have confirmation and confidence that once the old bridge is out of action, it's out of action, and we won't expect any of those residents to use the detour again. Firstly, the second thing, the old bridge is a little bit more complex because MDC chose not to be involved in keeping it, or to be involved in keeping it in a limited capacity. So I think what is needed to get the public to get access to the old bridge, we would have to have some discussions with John Jones to figure out exactly how all that fits together and what's required, and then potentially, I would imagine, bring back something to council to describe that and to consider the costs.
I will need to double check this. I think it's a valid question from councillor for us to understand and for us to provide that feedback. I recall very early in my tenure a proposal from a group who wished to take over effectively the bridge and to use it, etc. And I think it would be prudent for us to remind ourselves what that agreement was and who were parties to that agreement, and advise them of the date at which that effectively would start. Yes. I might take that as an undertaking to remind members intercessionally of that agreement, and that we've gone ahead and worked with them. Does that meet your...
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. So the opening of the bridge on the 20th of May will be with the approaches finished, but the Manawatu side not sealed. Does that mean that trucks and what have you will be able to use the bridge?
Yes.
Yes, it does. So effectively the bridge is open for traffic, for all traffic.
Yes, on the 20th. Yep.
On the 20th, and then these other dates are the finalised work.
And I've just asked Arno to check that the sealing of the road doesn't impact any traffic flow, be that light or heavy traffic. So if there is an impact, we'll advise intercessionally.
One more comment, Your Worship, also that we have received confirmation from iwi that they would be agreeable to the position where we might have to put traffic over the bridge to construct the approaches before the opening.
Light traffic.
Light traffic.
Thank you. Look, from my point of view, I'll acknowledge that there has been a considerable pressure on councillors. I appreciate that councillors did not leap into a very difficult public position and gave us the opportunity to work with the parties in iwi to be able to get to this position, which has preserved the standing and mana of this council and iwi. So I actually appreciate that. I do understand the pressures that have been placed on particularly 2 or 3 different councillors. It's not easy, and especially if you have councillors from the Manawatu side that have said to hell with process, I'll do it my way. Right, I'll move on. Thank you. Next one.
Thank you. Martin Toobull's wastewater project. It's progressing well with Fulton Hogan in the background, and we still expect that to be completed by June as planned. Got some questions?
Councillor Lema.
Just on a very minor point, the sign was taken down because it was blocking the site access, and I have asked that it can be placed on my property, and it hasn't happened, but I'd like to meet someone down there and help. There's a set of rails you can bang it onto, the perfect height, it'll be great. I'd like to meet someone down there and stick the sign back up.
I'll leave that as an operational matter that they can contact you if needed.
I'm not on that, I'll need to recall, but I believe that it was an action or an undertaking already in the action.
Yeah, it's been closed. That was the removal of the. Right, yeah. But it hasn't been, I offered to have it placed back up in my paddock, nothing's happened. But I want to meet someone down there and have it.
So is this where Higgins' crew come down and unscrew it, put it on the ground, and then we get Higgins' crew coming back, put it back up again and screw it up again?
Oh, it's gone, the posts are still there, they're lying on the ground, but the sign's gone.
I shouldn't be.
Welcome. Yeah.
There's probably more to it. I shouldn't be facetious on mine, but Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. In previous reports, we've, with regard to this matter, it has been indicated that specialists were going to be undertaking to give us an analysis of the soil types that were going to be needed. Has that process been undertaken? If so, have we had any feedback as to the suitable soils for the disposal?
Yep, thank you for the question. Yes, so we have employed low environmental impact. It's with them. What they are working on at the moment is a timeline of different milestones and projects that need to happen from now until the final completion of the project, and that'll be rolled up in that. And once we have that project plan, we will present that to council.
So that is all, as a supplement to that, if I may, so anything to do with that will arrive at a council level as an individual report from low environmental or as part of this?
That's a good question.
There will be a lot more detail in it, and a lot of that would be operational, I understand.
I think, if I may suggest, Your Worship, that the detail of that project over the next 3 years is probably more a topic for assets and infrastructure.
Okay.
And the PMO report will be more an overview of progress rather than.
Yeah, that would be a good process. Yep.
I'll go to Councillor Dalgety, then to myself, Councillor Dalgety.
Just with page 79, with regards to the lessons, engaging with Manawatu District Council and the lessons they've learned through their own wastewater centralisation project, will those lessons be will we get to see those so that we can learn from them as well?
Yeah, Your Worship, I'm quite happy to share those. I think it's potentially more at a technical level of what to look out for when you design a pump station, pipe sizes, fittings and things like that. I think it's, I'm not sure what it is, but if it is, value, definitely I would share that.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've just got another question. Just for my own clarification, the sub-project B budget to buy the land, that would be debt funded, or is that something that could come from the Better Off funding?
And sorry, yes.
The direction which previous conversations with council have gone regarding Three Waters, effectively Three Waters Capital, is that the signals we've had from you in the past has been to debt fund, and in the expectation that when the water service entity takes over, they would take that debt with them. Although I've not had time to prepare a response to you more formally, but my recommendation would be to you to use the Better Off funding for the issues that were previously raised, and we've given notice of what the DIA the central government are looking for from the Better Off funding.
Okay.
Yeah, which is more around social type things.
Thank you.
We would debt fund it, and one of the difficulties of Better Off funding is the government will require a completion date for that funding. So they will want to say, yes, funding was given, and tick the box, it has now all been spent.
I don't think it would align, Your Worship, with the outcomes required from that Better Off funding.
The question from me, and then I'll go to Councillor Carter and then Councillor Belsham. The question from me, we've bought most of the pipe for this project. Bearing in mind the difficulties to supply, how does the purchase of that pipe match up with the anticipated cost of pipe added to the contract?
Thank you, Bishop. Yeah, the cost of the pipe's included in the contract price. So that was always the contractor's risk, so we won't see it if there is a
Okay, so it's on there. Yep. Great.
You might have noticed the pipe next to the State Highway 3, it's all different colours. It's whatever they could find that's of the right specification. There were some beige ones, there's ones with purple lines and green lines in all colours.
I don't think the material that floats through it will be
No.
what they're seeing. Councillor Carter.
Speaking of State Highway 3, there was massive advertising that State Highway 3 was going to be closed as they came out of McCarty's Road onto the State Highway 3. What happened?
They had to cross the road, and the only way to do it was to close the road. So the road was completely closed for 2 or 3 days. And
It never happened. Is that through the lack of consent to do it?
no,
Paperwork hadn't been gone through?
No, it had nothing to do with consent. It has to do with traffic safety. That was the only driver for that.
Councillor Belsham.
I just note in the report the three water stimulus funding that was funding partial part of the pipeline was to be completed at the 31st of March. That was completed, that installation at that date. Because I noticed there was a very small amount of pipeline installed by around that date, but there's still a significant amount to progress. And looking at the budget for that at 3.88 million, it looks like there's a lot more lines still to go. So the 10 million that's in that project budget, will that cover the rest of the pipeline?
Yeah, so well spotted. Due to the COVID lockdowns towards the end of last year, central government gave us a postponement till the end of June. So the 31st of March has been postponed to the 30th of June. We adjusted the project plan accordingly, and we are on track for that.
So the length of pipeline that 3.8 million is funding is actually quite a significant lot more than where they got to at the 31st of March.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's completely correct. And also, we will first spend central government's money before we start spending our own money. In other words, we are just about there. We've just about spent it all.
Thank you.
Are we happy now to go on to the next project, councillors? Yes?
Right.
Thank you.
Lake Waipu improvement at Ratna is the next one. I'm happy to pass this one on to Adina. She is the project manager across it. We had a meeting on Friday afternoon in Ratna to give an update of where we are and how things are progressing. And I thought the meeting was positive and went well and was quite informative. So it's good.
Was that a site meeting or was it?
Yeah, both.
Yeah, I think I flicked through an apology that I couldn't be there, but I would like to see it at some stage. So maybe I'll go through Peter and look at a road trip.
I'd love to join that if it's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And just the meeting was also attended by Councillor Carter. So thank you for that.
Good, thank you.
Oh, right, chopped liver.
All right, we'll move on.
Next one is the Bulls Bus Lane in Town Square.
The signage looks great. Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. It's around my question with the verbal agreement that we have around this project, because there was in one of the reports it said that we were looking to formalise that agreement. I'm just wondering where we're up to with that.
Yep, thank you. Through your worship, yeah, absolutely. I can give you an update. We have been communicating and negotiating with the property owners. We have an agreement in place. There were slight changes that we've agreed upon. So the last step was just to sign it off, and it's all done. Yeah, and that should be done probably before the end of May.
So that's a current position, it's not historic.
That's current, yes.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Belsham.
So the bus lane is open and under use now, is that correct? Are we finding any truck movements through there coming out of the truck stop? Are they using that as an alternative route?
Can I answer? Yes, there's a lot of them, not just trucks, also cars. But we had on the long weekend now, the road markings have been done to put the green bus lane only markings on there. And even that reduced some of the traffic significantly, which is great. And once more buses are using the bus lane, we would expect that less traffic will go through because it becomes a bit of a hassle more than anything.
I did stop one truck and trailer and speak to him and say, I'm going to grow you.
Unfortunately, I think convenience is going to allow them to use it if there's no bus there. Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know what we can do to change that, unfortunately.
I mean, ultimately, you could go down the path of a bylaw and a camera and take photos and building companies. That would stop it. Okay, move on.
If I may, Your Worship, just add to that, and Adina, please take over. But on that, you are about to close the other side of the road,
The bus stop.
The other bus stop, yes.
Yes.
And so that will be closed.
By the end of May is what we have agreed on, the 27th of May, that will be closed. So we're going to put up a big sign and lots of notification around it and notify all the operators so that they can plan for that. I mean, they already had a heads up that it's operating, and now it's just giving them a firm date of when everything has to be moved over to the new location.
And we will look to market that property at what date?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. That's it's good that the topic came up. We have deals in place with Baileys and property brokers for the properties that will be sold in support of Tomato P, the construction. So the ones that that'll be the bus stop, the old bus stop, and the town hall. So for sale signs would go up on both of those very shortly.
So I know this is repeating myself, but for councillors, there's been a lot of talk around the Bulls project, and all sorts of incorrect figures have gone out there, including sort of $9 million, which wasn't quite correct. But essentially, as a project, the sale of these properties drops the cost. You know, so if you were to get $1 million or more for these properties, which is likely, then you're going to find that the cost of the project drops by that amount as well. It's just, unfortunately, some people have been very collared, if that's the right word, in their thinking around this.
Again, sorry, I haven't finished, Your Worship. There were some defects that had been identified in the bus lane when it was first opened, and Adina has had those addressed, including the signage, that the green painting on the road, etc., and some relocation of exactly where the buses stop to allow gates to open, etc., etc. So we've received that feedback and made the improvements that have been needed. Adina, could you please comment? I do recall, and I apologise to those who are on this subcommittee, but we actually formed a subcommittee of council a couple of years ago with regards to the artwork and how that intended to be moved forward. We only have ever had one meeting, and I've not updated you since then. So please forgive me for not updating you. But I've just asked Adina if she could just give a very quick, brief update now, if that's all right, Your Worship, on the artwork and the timeline. Sorry,
Actually, that's the way.
yeah, it's your meeting, Your Worship, not
That's
mine.
right.
But,
I'll get a cold drink while you can take over from that.
my apologies.
No, I'm just.
So I've been in contact with the artist Delwyn regularly, and all the artwork is currently in the stage of being produced. So they have completed the design of it, they're producing it now, and then the next step will be to install it. We have had a conversation with her about where exactly the artwork is going to go, and I've got a very small, it's a bit small maybe, but a little map of where it's currently planned to go, but basically it will be at both ends of the bus lane to welcome the travellers and welcome people going through, and then also on the part of the town square that we are leasing for 99 years, it will be on the closest to the Criterion Road side, but within our area, so that there's no chance of having to move that again in the future. We are looking at a few delays that were caused by suppliers and COVID, as we all know, and currently we are looking at probably in the next 3 months the artwork to be installed and hopefully having the blessing ceremony for the artwork. But I will keep you updated on that. Darwin is working very hard on getting this completed as soon as possible.
And so as a result, I'd like to take the action, if I may, to provide all elected members with an update with the map that you've got there, to show where the information's, where the artwork's going to be installed. That's all right. Thank you, Worship.
Councillor Belsham.
In regards with you just said the 99-year lease for the town square, so that's the portion that was being gifted to us by the JV joint venture partner.
Yeah.
The other portion that I know there was a request for information about the verbal agreement for use of that. Has that information been provided anywhere in regards with the agreement that was put in place?
If I can answer that, that's exactly the agreement that Anna is referring to. That we do have an agreement that which would allow us effectively to sow it and seed and to put bollards, etc., and that we would maintain it, but we would not rate them for that land, given that we are actually using it in the way we are. That was a previous resolution of council. That's now in the agreement. There were some small amendments that Anna's mentioned. We've been given a verbal, yes, that's fine. It's really getting those people together to sign it, which has been the delay.
So there's no cost to council, as in an annual lease arrangement?
No, there's a quid pro quo for not rating them.
Thank you.
Just in line with the laws.
Councillor Carter.
With the opening, is there only going to be one opening outright? That is when the artwork all goes in and then it's all opened?
So the way that Iwi explained to me is that they have done an opening ceremony when Te Matapihi was opened, and this ceremony would be more a blessing of the artwork for the whole space when the artwork is arriving on the site. And so we're following their advice and planning with them.
Thank you. Councillor Panapa.
This is just a query regarding the old bus area, and I'd welcome Councillor Carter's views on this. Is the potential of using part of that space as an underpass to allow access to the other side of the main highway. So is there a appetite for that?
Look, I have pointed out to Waka Kotahi that we will have that property on the market. In terms of construction of an underpass, a very significant cost would be roadworks, etc., etc. They're not even prepared to have that discussion. You know, we have talked to them on numerous occasions around the need for safe crossings, overheads, what other options are there, etc. It's a conversation that has fallen on deaf ears, no matter how many times I bring it up. So, you know, us reserving the property for a future use for Waka Kotahi, unless council had the view to go to Waka Kotahi and say, we know it's a state highway, but we're going to do our own thing and go through a consenting process to put in an underpass under a state highway onto land that we currently own. If that was the will of council, fine. but you'd be talking multiple millions of dollars. Yeah, it's just where it sits. Historically, also, when properties have come on the market around that intersection, I pointed it out to Wakatahi or NZTA Transit a number of occasions when those properties were on the market to say, here's an opportunity for you to look at a roundabout or whatever is needed. No. Councillor Wilson.
Your Worship, with the risk of bogging us down on this subject, and my apologies, can I just come back to the sale of these properties? What is the proposed process?
From memory, both agents proposed a closed tender process. They get the highest market value in that way, but I can check the details. I'm not certain.
It's effectively a tender process.
Yeah.
However, under our sale of disposal of surplus land, we have to comply with the policy, which also includes a consideration of use.
Yes, understand.
Your Worship, Council have already resolved for that.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Also, Mr. Beggs brought it to my attention that Graham Poynton is online. He would have the details of the sale more than I would. And I don't know, Graham, if you would have any comments?
Thank you, Your Worship, Arno. Nothing further. The very simple summary is that our instructions to the agents are entirely in line with Council's resolution, which is based on our 2015 policy on disposal of surplus land and buildings. The Council has previously resolved to provide the 30% non-cash considerations in assessing the value of the tenders, and of course the balance will be 70%. Currently the proposals are that tenders will close on the 22nd of June. They will be assessed by officers and our Chief Executive, and a recommendation will come to Council PE the last day of June Council.
Further clarification on that, as per as normal, a tender process in such matters, highest to any tender may not necessarily be accepted, one would assume.
Correct.
Thank you.
Move on, please.
Right, we'll move on to number 5, which is the Tai Happy Amenities Building. And again, I'll pass it on to Adina.
The build is going really well at the moment. So there's a interesting thing happening on the 9th of May at the current plane, where 12-meter long floor panels are going to be dropped off and dropped onto the pile. So it will be quite interesting to see that. I'll take pictures and share them back. And if anyone has any questions on the project.
So my question for Adina is, are we capturing all these significant things? And you just indicated that photos of this are. But the other thing that I'd really like to know is, are we going to celebrate any of these significant firsts? Because I think the utilisation of these cross-laminated timber floor panels is a bit of a first for probably local government in the lower North Island. It's not the first time in Tai Happy, because our architect has already used this product before, but I think we could have a bit of a good news story here.
Yeah.
And I think we should grab every chance for positivity, grab it by the scruff of the neck and milk it for all it's worth.
Yes. Could I be kept informed about when this is actually happening? Because I'd be interested just in being there to have a look. I had been up and had a look from outside the fence at the pile ramming process. Forget how many piles there are, but it's a huge number. And I was told that the soil is quite different across the site. In some places, ramming these things was relatively straightforward. In other places, mere metres away, it was really, really quite difficult.
Sorry, I was wondering if Carol wants to comment on the councillors' request for good news stories, etc.
Yes, well, with Tiana on board, she liaises with the project management team regularly, so she's working with you on this project.
And we always have updates in our Talk Up Taihape editions as well as in the Connect. So we're trying to push it out as far as we can and update everyone around.
I did think it would be really easy if you could set up a laser cutter to cut them all at exactly the same height. But, yeah. For Duncan.
Yes, I just want to say thank you for these photos. I actually shared them on my Facebook page. It's a good news story, and I just think it's just going to look so smart next to the refurbished grandstand. So that's awesome.
You won't go there.
That's very happening.
Councillor Dalgety.
I'm just interested, I mean, this project has started. What is the feel on the streets of Taihape around it at the moment? Can anyone give me a sense of that?
I'll give you your vision.
Yes, I really don't know what to say. People are talking about it, and it's always an opportunity then to sort of clarify what's actually happening, because it is quite tricky to get people's heads into the new both scenario, and I think there are a lot of people who are very excited about having a brand new facility, and one of those would definitely be, I've had feedback from the Equestrian Society who are so looking forward to it. So, yeah.
Equestrian and sharing sports people, those users are thrilled. Rugby is thrilled because the future without this building was they won't have those games in the park.
Brilliant.
So there's big groups of Taihape saying, thank God. So, thank you. Moving on.
Thank you. The Taihape grandstand. We've got any questions for them?
The only question from me is the project budget. I have raised this before. Heading it up as a project budget, people then assume that that is the cost of the project. The project budget is the amount of money that we have put in to our budget, not the cost of doing this. So as I understand it, the cost of estimates that we've been given around the refurbishment, strengthening, all of those things is considerably higher than $1 million. So we're adding to a confusion here, people. And somewhere it needs to be changed so people recognise that the $1 million is our potential contribution to a bigger cost.
Yeah. Your Worship, is this not captured in the third paragraph above the box section there where it says grandstand until the heritage status was confirmed and financing for construction in place? I mean, I suppose with the knowledge we have around the table, we understand what those last 4 or 5 words means. Possibly it could be expanded a little bit, but I think that's what you're alluding to in a way.
It's even that paragraph is not clear. We have had some rough order estimates of what this work will cost, and they are considerably higher than $1 million.
Oh, yes.
And so we need to be honest, because otherwise what happens is council staff and council get blamed and said, this was $1 million budget and it's cost 1.8 million, for example. Don't quote me on the figure, please, for those online. But they then blame staff, they then blame you as governors to say, this has cost far more than, and once again, we've got another bad news story. So we just have to frame it so that people's expectations are understood.
May I suggest, Your Worship, that we could change the project budget to unknown
and have a spend to date, because what I would like for councillors to keep an eye on is the spend to date against the million that we made available, potentially, because the one comes off the other one. We do not want to have a situation where people think the whole million is still available. So we could have project budget unknown and spend to date.
But we have had a rough order estimate of the total cost, so why not be honest? And so the estimate at such and such a date was, that will need to be refined in the future. But we have a reasonable expectation that this is not $1 million project. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Worship, and I agree 100% with what you're saying and your thinking on this line, because it does need to be clearly stated where these two budget lines are. But equally so, and there has been some rough order figures given that are significantly more than $1 million. I agree, and it would be good to have those actually shown in this document, to the left or the right, somewhere in there. But we should also have an understanding of where that money is coming from. Has fundraising from various groups regarding that active now? Are these other groups that have said that they would contribute to the funding starting to do that funding? Or do we get to the spend of $1 million and go, well, that's our half done, and we sit back and it becomes a half complete project?
And you've got it, because the worst thing that can happen here is we have $1 million budget. We go through very detailed design, right down, and we say, okay, and we now know exactly every last step of the way, and we've spent 600 grand. And
You're right.
Nobody's raised any money, and nothing happens. So this should, in my mind, there should be some trigger points. We're recognising that there is a group that have said they will help with assist funding, and we will go to detailed design at this stage and further and further. And we're doing some of that work now. Sorry, through you, Adina.
Yeah, I think I would like to add that the process that we're currently in is that we are doing the detailed design of the strengthening that was decided on in council. So the PMO is working with the engineer and with the architects to actually progress that to the stage that it could be building consented. And as part of this process, we also are trying to find ways of making it into stages or making it into portions, so that there could be some work done that we can clearly define what that is. And if there would be more work that is needed and more use that is wanted by the community, then there could be more fundraising done to actually achieve that. So we are trying to be very smart in the way that we're approaching the design and any possible construction. And yeah, we are presenting that back, hopefully, I think maybe June council meeting. I think we're due to receive it back soon. So we will come back with a report on this.
Thank you. Councillor Dalgety.
Look, I welcome you considering the staged approach, but does that staged approach mean that the end result is a considerable more cost? So, so if you can do stage A, B, C, if that end result is considerably more cost than a normal build, then that's when I would have concerns around that.
We're definitely taking that into consideration, not to add cost because we're staging it.
Right.
So at the moment, we are just looking at what stages are naturally possible.
Yeah.
And that has to do a lot with the use of the space underneath the seating, because that has fire regulations and other items that are being considered. So we don't want to have a disadvantage, as you were saying, because we're looking at stages. So that's definitely being considered.
Thank you. Does that bring us to the end of this particular item? Is that a question or?
It's a question.
Go for it.
So just listen to the discussion and reading the project status report. A key determinant on going forward is going to be that fundraising money. So my question for the Chief Executive and staff is, are they happy that they've got competence either available to hire or directly in this group, the heritage group, to raise what is a considerable amount of money?
So staff have indicated to Taihepe Heritage that we're willing to work with them to identify funding. And it was also suggested by Arno at one of the meetings that we hold off until we do get that detailed design before they start fundraising, so they know exactly how much we're looking for.
If I recall, it was council resolution that we would spend some of the million to support the fundraising effort through our own technical capabilities.
Yes, that's correct. If requested.
If requested, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Look, I'll call for a break in the meeting now as required. Having been going for a couple of hours. Councillors, how much time do you need? Could we reconvene at 15:15? And with the expectation that we'll be through the project managership reports by sort of 3:30. I know a couple of councillors have commitments elsewhere. I don't see anything too major in the rest of them, but we'll stop now. For those online, we'll reconvene in 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
Live.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I do want to deal with 11.2 reasonably quickly. Sorry, to get to 11.2 reasonably quickly, the Mangaweka Bridge road to completion. Is it a problem for staff if I just leapfrog for a second to that item? I know that a couple of councillors want to get away and want to speak with regard to this item. Thank you. Moving to 11.2, Mangaweka Road to completion. Who's taking us through this?
It'll be me.
Certainly, go for it.
It'll be much quicker since we've already had a good discussion on the Mangaweka Bridge earlier. It's just really a summary of what I described before. And that we are looking at the opening date on the 20th of May.
Thank you. Any councillors wish to speak to this? Councillor Duncan, I thought you might.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have been involved in the community side of the effects of the bridge build to date, and I just want to acknowledge how difficult it has been, and I think that it's been difficult for everybody. There were times when I felt that we as a council were not taking enough responsibility for it, but I see that it's way more complicated than what I could see at the time. The community has been very divided, and I would like to acknowledge our iwi. I would like to say to Ngāti Hauiti, I think that they were put in a particularly difficult position through no fault of their own, and their flexibility around opening the bridge earlier is extremely commendable, and it's not been an easy thing for anyone, and I don't think the community fully understood the implications of some of that. So I really want to say the contractors were amazing, obviously, and got way ahead of them of what we expected, and then there was communication that was a challenge. But I would like to mihi to Laquan, who has given me a whakatauki, a proverb, a Māori proverb, to say by way of expressing my sentiment here, and I think I hope you will agree and be able to tautoko this. It is me mahi tahi tātou, he waka eke noa. Let's work as a collective. We're in this together. And I think that is a sentiment I just really wanted to bring to this meeting. And mihi, our iwi, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Duncan. Any further comments around this item? We have dealt with it at length. It has been a difficult relationship, and taking time, that was the need to be able to discuss these things through without the pressure, so I acknowledged earlier that. Councillor Dalgety.
So I'm just not clear, is the Mayor of Manawatu going to be able to make this opening or not?
I don't know that she is going to, not because she's trying to ignore it. She has flights booked, as I understand it, to another function, and so she will be out of the district. So I'm hopeful that she could join us, but certainly if she is not there, it is not because of a particular stance. And I will obviously speak, and I will reiterate that.
Okay.
Councillor Gordon.
Your Worship, at the formal ceremony, will we be inviting former councillors who had some part to play in the beginning of this process?
Correct.
Thank you.
And we could take that as an action, please. That should happen, yes. Anything further?
Just
Wilson.
quickly, Your Worship, whilst we're looking forward to this opening with a great deal of expectation, it should be reminded to everybody involved that there is still some minor completion of the bridge to be done, and it may, I suspect, facilitate periodic closures, possibly. And I would just like to make sure that those are detailed out to the public in a very clear manner, because there is still some finishing to be done, and I'm referring to guard railing and such things. That may need to be facilitated. I do not know, but I'm just saying we should be very mindful of that.
Thank you. In answer to your question earlier, Councillor Gordon, I've had a discussion with Dina earlier as to the appropriate people that should be in that party. So there has been some thought to give them these things already. So thank you for bringing it to our attention. Anything else? Would somebody like to move for the report? Sorry, Councillor Duncan.
I'd like to move that the report be received.
Thank you very much. Looking for a second to that, Councillor Duncan. Second, those in favour?
Aye.
To my aye. Thank you. We'll now move back to the project management. And the next one on the list is the Martin Industrial Park and Rail Hub. Anything further around that, or can we move on?
We can move on if there are any questions. No questions.
Just interested around the Environment Court. Sorry, I've just lost what page it is, please.
88, yeah.
Thank you. So pre-hearing conference 10th of May. Then can you just outline what happens from there, please?
So there would be a step normally before that, and I think there's a step on the 3rd of May where we would be required, or all parties would be required to list who the professional people that they are bringing in as expert witnesses to this process. I think 3rd of May, 10th of May, you then go through a process, and from that stage on, literally, you're moving towards an environment court and or mediation. So council could take a view that they're prepared to mediate with some parties and not all parties, would be my understanding. And that could be the case. For instance, you could decide to mediate with Forest and Bird, for example, and Dock. But the next essential stage is people will have had to, by that stage, list their expert parties that are going to represent them and whether they intend to take it to Environment Court. They could opt out at that stage. They could say, we've tried and tried, you've either listened to us or you haven't, and whether they want to go to a hearing. That's when it starts costing parties real money.
Thank you.
Peter, do you wish to add to that? No. I've got it about right in terms of... Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8, the Martin Water Strategy. No real progress besides that we'll be going out to tender soon, but any questions around this one?
Just for me, when you indicated that you're going out to tender, how long was that process? The tender process on that? What would you normally expect?
Normally it's around 4 weeks.
4 weeks. And when, subsequent to that, we've often had little feedback from some of the things, and it's just a lack of people in the space for what it is that we're looking at specifically. Would you expect there to be a number of different agencies that may tender for this work?
Yeah, boards are interesting. There really are about 3 large players in the area, in our district, and I would expect the 3 of them to tender.
Thank you.
The rate they charge, I did offer to dig the first meeting. Moving on.
Thank you. Your Worship, number 9 is the Regional Treatment Plant Consenting Program.
Anything there?
Any questions?
No? Okay, thank you. And miscellaneous.
Yes. I think probably best to ask if there are any questions around any of these that's of particular interest.
For me, so Martin Memorial Hall looks fantastic. There's a toilet upgrade work still to be done, isn't there? Some of it. A start date?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know what the start date is.
As far as I know, the CPU has been granted, so it can now operate while the work is being continued. And I need to double check this, but I'm pretty sure that we're advising people that are renting the hall that there are works going on, and if that impacts people renting the hall, then they are being advised.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question, really. Any further questions?
No further question.
Sure. Could have got to it without changing the agendas around. Would somebody like to move that the project manager's office report, including the miscellaneous, be received? Go Councillor Belsham, Councillor Lambert. Those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. We've done the road to completion. Minutes from committees. Would somebody like to move the receipt of these as a total block, please?
Happy to move.
Councillor Wilson moving, seconded by Councillor Panapa. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Recommendations from committees. 14.1. First recommendation, council approves or does not approve the recommendation this is from assets, the additional expenditure of up to 1.82 million plus GST for emergency roading works. Waka Kota's funding assistance rate is still to be confirmed. Is that still the correct place? The remainder of the costs will be covered by the council local share as unbudgeted expenditure. Would somebody like to so move? Councillor Belsham.
I'll move that the council approves.
Looking for a seconder to that.
Second.
Is there an opposing view? We have to fix this. We don't have an option really, councillors. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour?
No.
Those against? Carried. Recommendation 2, again from assets on the 14th. The council approves additional expenditure of up to 341,000 plus GST for roading emergency works, etc. Again, this is a repeat of.
Happy to move.
Happy to move. Councillor Belsham moving, Councillor Gordon seconding. Any discussion? Put to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Where do we go next? Public excluded. The recommendation is publicly excluded from the following parts of the meeting, etc. Would somebody like to so move on that basis? Councillor Carter moving, Councillor Wilson seconding. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. We'll close off.
Yes, and we'll just pause the meeting for a moment to stop the live streaming. Councillor Rukara, if you just want to stay online, and we'll unmute and put the camera out again once we're off live streaming.